Hey everybody, I'm Dan Hodgman with TopStep, and today we're sitting down with another funded trader, Tawnya. You've probably seen her in the chat or in the comment section on our YouTube page. Tawnya is a funded trader with us, which we are so excited for you. Out in New Mexico, sounds like the weather's kind of like Wisconsin right now, freezing cold. We've got a full-on blizzard. Tawnya, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get right into it. How long have you been trading?
I've been trading for about 3.5 years actively. I started dabbling a little bit in 2009 when stuff started looking like it was going back up, but not seriously at that point.
Awesome. And what are some of the products, once you got into this, what are some of the products you've really focused on?
Okay, currently I'm trading NASDAQ and the E-mini, but I have traded natural gas, oil, a little bit of the 10-year note, and that may be it.
All right, so we've hit metals, we've hit currencies, we've got them all here, treasuries, you name it, we've talked about them all. And I know right before we jumped into this, now that you're getting going in this funded account, you're going to be downsizing, right? We're going to be trading micros.
Yeah, at least when I'm unsure about the trend. So when I'm not really great at trading uptrends right now, and that's probably because a lot of my experience has been in the past year with all those heavy short days. So I'm trying to practice the things that are more difficult for me, or when I'm not seeing the market very well, with the micros, just limit that risk a little bit.
I mean, that's a genius move. You definitely want to protect the downside, especially when you're getting going into these funded accounts. I think a lot of people look at it of, okay, I finally made it, but in all actuality, you're really just starting. Like, okay, I did the practice. Now we got to do the real thing. This is real dollars and cents. So I love hearing that. I think that's a great mentality. What are some of the things that to execute? What are you looking for in the markets?
Okay, so again, I really like shorts, but I don't like to short early unless there's really heavy confluence at a previously identified level. I start my market research from the top down. So I'm looking at a monthly chart, then a weekly chart, then I'll go to the daily 4-hour. And then I kind of keep an eye on all of those on a secondary screen during the day, just to remind myself what the actual trend is. Keeping an eye on the VIX. If it's spiking too high, I don't want to mess with it unless the confluence is perfect for the short that I'm looking at. I do look at some of the common moving averages that you guys talk about, but I'm not entering based on those. I'm just trying to see where price might stop or get hung up. And then I look at market internals, so tick volumes, advanced decline. But again, that's more to help me see if trend is continuing or if it looks like it's shifting, or to help me keep out of trades that I shouldn't be in.
I like that. And obviously you've heard us talk about this top-down approach. You know me, I love my 4-hour chart. I think it's one of my favorites. You have me thinking, and I'm curious, what's your kind of daily routine look like from start to trade? I mean, you probably heard us talk about this idea of routine. What's your routine look like?
So I have to credit you for my routine, actually, because
I'll take it.
I really appreciate the way that you and John answer questions in all the forecasts and market recaps. I didn't really have a routine that I kept steadily until I heard you say that multiple times. So I read this book called Atomic Habits over the winter break, and I recommend that for anybody who's going to start trading. It's really killer for helping you build out a routine. So my morning routine starts the night before. I try to get my breakfast planned out. I've got my office set up the way I want it to be, and I'm in bed at 7:15 my time. And that's an everyday thing. I'm not happy if I'm not in bed by 7:15, probably asleep by 7:45. And then I'm up between 3:30 and 4:30 a.m. Get up, take care of the dogs, take care of myself, hydrate, get on the elliptical, go for a walk, stretching yoga, eat a really high protein breakfast. I cut coffee out of my routine recently. Listening to a couple of traders out of Australia, they mentioned that there's a lot of chaos that happens in your brain basically from the coffee. And it's amazing how much that has helped me to step back and really look at the market objectively. It was a big sacrifice.
That's amazing. I've never, I can't say I've heard much on a lot of people stopping coffee to help their trading, but hey, if you're out there and you're struggling and you're kind of in your head a little bit and you drink a lot of coffee, maybe start cutting back on the coffee. There's some good tangible advice to go forward with. I really like that. I mean, I'm impressed with how early you are in bed. If so, let me ask you this. If you deviate from that plan, that idea of going to bed at 7:15, if that doesn't happen, how does that affect your next day? What are some of the approaches that you take?
Yeah, so anything that shifts off, I've started using what's called like a mental capital meter. So I've got a checklist of things that I look at, and I give myself a score based on, did I sleep well? Was I in bed on time? How was my breakfast? Did I have a croissant instead of the eggs? And I'm tracking that with my journaling to see exactly what the differences are. It's still fairly new, but there's a marked difference in my mental state when I get to the market, or even when I get to my research, because I start my research in the market at about 5:45 Mountain Time. And if I haven't followed that morning routine, I find that I'm not very focused on writing my plan. It's a little scattered, and so I'm really trying to dial in to make that morning routine as set as it can possibly be, and not trade when I'm not able to do it. That's a big piece, is figuring out when not to trade.
I love this. The checklist, the consistency. I think the whole organization is so important. And it really does. You start to recognize the changes in your trading and in your day. You recognize, you know what, I had that croissant instead of the eggs, and I was tired by 9 o'clock. I mean, you start to notice those differences. I think that is really vital to finding that long-term success. I mean, we all have that routine. Everyone's probably heard mine. I mean, I look back on it. I've always said, my mentor, my first mentor, my dad, he had the same routine each and every morning. Everyone's got that routine. And if you're consistent with that, you can bring consistency to the market. But what you're pointing out here, which I think gets overlooked, is there's so much work that's involved prior to getting into the market. And that's what I want everyone listening to pay attention to. Um, so, as you've gone through the trading combine, what have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned about you and your trading?
Really dialing in my attention to how my physical, mental, and emotional state is before executing that trade. You guys say it all the time that it's easy to make money here, but it's not easy to keep it. And more times than I can count, I'll do great for a couple of weeks, and then whatever has shifted in the universe, I'm just not on my game like I would be, and I'll trade and trade and trade and trade, and end up giving back everything that I gained over the previous 2 weeks. So figuring out when I'm setting myself up for that type of a situation and stepping back from it. I'm not great at that yet, but I'm getting better at it, as evidenced by passing step 2.
And you did it. You passed step 2. You're into the pro account. You're starting to make some money there, which is exciting. And like we said, it's the work now. Really, this is where the rubber meets the road. You can hit all the cliches, and they're all fairly true. I think it's trading in general. They're a cliche because it's as true as it is. And so I'm really excited to hear that. So a couple last questions for you. Obviously, there's a lot of traders that are working their way through the trading combine. It's difficult, as you know. It's not the easiest thing to get through. For those that are working themselves through the trading combine, what's some of the biggest advice you would have for them?
I would say take a look at the number of trades that you take on average, especially if you're a new trader, and try to cut that in half every week or every day, whatever works for you. It's hard to make a big shift from making 50 trades a day down to 3 trades a week right off the bat, but try to trade less and see how how that works for you. Make sure that you're journaling every single trade. And if you're taking so many trades that you can't journal each trade, maybe you should think about that.
I did not ask her to say that. I had no part in that. But I could not agree more. And I think one of the best parts, the reason why cutting back those trades is so vital, is because you really start to focus on those, as they say, A setups, the best setups in your strategy. Those are the ones you're focusing on because you're thinking about cutting back. You're not taking that one, well, we might get the runner here, so I'm going to go with it. And that's not, and when you get to cut back, you really get to focus on those profitable trades that the math is on your side. You're trading with those probabilities. My last question for you. So far with TopStep, how's your experience been?
It's been fantastic. You know, I've been in a few other chat rooms here and there, and you're just never quite sure what you're getting. But every piece of advice that I've gotten from any of the TopStep team, to include the support staff when you email in, who's always right on the game, getting answers back to you. I haven't felt like I was misled by anything, and it's always been an answer that I was able to take and do more research and try implementing. And of course, some works, some doesn't work. We've all got different styles, but it's just been more helpful than I ever could have imagined it would have been.
Awesome. I really appreciate you hearing that. And again, I didn't ask her to say that one either. Tawnya, I want to thank you for sitting down with us here today. If I were to put a title on this video, it would be Tangible Takeaways. Tawnya had so much great stuff to say for everyone. Tips to walk away with to go find some success in that trading combine, in your own brokerage account, wherever you are trading. I think some of the best stuff, great stuff said here. Really this idea of journaling, consistency, sticking with that routine. It's so vital. Whether we want to accept it or not, we have to have those things within our trading to be successful at this. So thank you very much for sitting down with me today.